we're going to prep up the dovetail saw ready for its restoration and recutting of its teeth, you see. Well, I've actually already taken the teeth off, and I'm going to show you how I did that. Now, I was watching a video in the past, I can't remember when it was, of Paul Sellers grinding the teeth off with a bench grinder, you know, like a spinning wheel. It was only about that wide, you see. Can you imagine trying to keep that in line and then get a straight edge on there using something that's only that wide? You know, a bench grinder, one of these things over here. I just can't imagine doing a good job with that. I really can't. Here's a hose. Right. That's a bloop. Let's keep it there. Anyway, so what we're going to use is this linen shit just here. And I'm going to show you how I did it. But also, we're going to polish it up as well and prep it up. Now, I've took the screws out, these captive screws. When I mean captive, basically the nut portion of the screw goes over the top of the bolt itself. We call that a captive screw. And that's what holds the handle on. Now, this isn't the first time I've done this. I did this several years ago. This used to be my father's saw. He gave it to me years and years ago before he died. And this particular handle here, I did not put that syrupy old varnish all over it. So that is going to be coming off. We're going to do something a bit nicer with that. Also, I'm going to reshape it slightly. Now, the reason for that is because it's had a few, how to put it, a few recuts on the teeth. It's quite an old saw, so it's not as deep as it once was. It had been down there originally. As you can see here, with the handle coming too far down, it's going to reduce the depth of actual tail being cut on a dovetail. So I'm actually going to reshape the handle just a touch, just so we can actually make that work. It might be in this video or it might be in the next video. But first of all, I want to prep up this blank, this actual saw blade itself. There's a couple of things I want to show you, things you've got to watch out for when you do this, because you know, I don't know if you can see that. Well, I have been polishing the side already. There's some hot spots on there, and there's one there. Obviously, it's been hit with a hammer or something's happened to it in its life and it's got damage. So all these little things need sort of rectifying. Where those hot spots are, they'll get stuck. You know, every time you feel, oh my, that'll be where a hot spot. So it's a high. When I say hot spot, I mean it's high there, and it's been when you use the linisher, it's where it'll heat up. So you've got to be careful of that as you do it. So we're going to bring it down to the linisher, and also my wire wheel, which is over there next to it as well. And we're going to polish up the captive screws because obviously they're all tarnished and what have you. So we're going to clean them up. I'm going to clean up the actual blade and the thing, the actual back, the brass back, and then I'll show you how I flattened off the teeth. But you've got to be careful, otherwise you can overheat it and make it buckle. So you've got to be careful. You really do have to be careful. So let me just bring you around or down to the linisher, which is basically a belt sander on steroids. This one's a 48-inch belt, and this belt I've got in here is actually an old one. I just put it on because it's an old one. Now, the thing is, you could use a new one, and this is quite a fine one. I think there's about 180 grit, this one, and you could use that. But you see, because it's still sharp, all that'll do is it'll create masses of scratches down the side of it, give more of a brushed finish. I just want to use this to clean off the muck. You can see all these little high spots of grease build up and stuff like that. It's really, really worn. So I've already took the captive screws out to slide the handle off like so, and I want to clean this all up, ready to go. Now, I'm not doing very well today, am I? I know, I'm going to blame the carpal tunnel syndrome. It's the carpal tunnel syndrome that did that. Yes, it did. So anyway, we've got our blade, our saw blade, which is fairly true, and there's still some remnants of the old teeth on, I don't even see that on the edge there. If I move it back a bit, as you can see, yeah, probably about there. There's some little notches. So we'll take them out a bit further, all right? But you've got to be careful when you do this. You don't want to heat it up. So you've got to make sure you've got some water nearby, which I have over here. So I'll splash water on it if I need to. But there's also a bit of corrosion on the back here underneath the handle area, so I'll try and remove some of that. Not too much. You want the blade to be thin, but you don't want it to be you don't want it to disappear, do you? Also, you don't want to taper the blade from there to there. Otherwise, as you make your saw cut, you're potentially going to get tighter and tighter on the side of the blade as you get deeper. To be fair, though, with dovetail saw, you never really go beyond 20, 25 mil anyway, do you? And doing big dovetails like that, you might be using a different sort of saw. So we're going to polish that up using this. Now, what I've done is I've set this belt fairly close to this edge. I could actually go a little bit closer. So I've done that on the tensioning of the belt, because there's two tensions on the belt. There's one here, and then you can alter the tracking of the belt to what side the belt goes. Anyway, let's turn it on. Give it a go. I'm satisfied that all the teeth have gone. If I run my fingernail across it, I've got a couple of really shallow notches, which I'm not going to worry about. They'll be fine. I'll leave them. They'll disappear when I actually cut the teeth in, which we're going to do in a future video. It's just, it's looking all right. It needs a bit more work. But I don't know if you can still see that there. Can you see there's a hot spot there? I can't overgrind it. I end up a hole in it if I'm not careful. And that point there as well. I just want to make sure that there's nothing on the sides of the blade that are going to impede the cut. No one's getting in the way of the cut itself. So just flatten the sides again. You see with the, this is an 80 grit, but it's blunt as hell. It really is blunt. So it's fairly open grain because it's blunt and it's 80 grit. But you can see here, it's almost like it's polishing it and not actually just grinding it. Sorry about that, just turn my lights back on. They're on PR sensors. That's what happens if you stand in one place too long and I'm not in line of sight. So you see there's still a bit dark there. I don't make it too thin, it's not going to sit in the handle properly. This will make a new handle, I suppose. So a little bit more. Right. Quite satisfied at that, a little bit on the end maybe. Right, a bit of handwork in there with a diamond sharpener, flat diamond sharpener. We'll take it to the bench in a minute. Let's just polish up these two captive nuts on the wire wheel here. I'm dropping everything today. One. Right. What is wrong with me today? I keep dropping everything. Right, let's take you to the bench. Oh, dear me. What am I like, eh? Right, I'll put you over here. Hopefully I don't need to edit this video unless it runs out of memory or something stupid like that. Right, so we've got our handle. That I'm going to clean up and sand up and make nice, and also, like I said, I'm going to reshape that shape it a little bit. I'm going to take a little tiny amount off there, just enough to allow for the fact that I'm going to cut new teeth on this saw. And there are captive screws. You see that they look quite nice now. So I'll be using those. So it's got, I bet it's all look nice, but also, I want it serviceable. At the moment, it hasn't been very serviceable because it's just been a mess. So we're going to use a diamond sharpener on there like so. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of these ones because then I get it off the ground, off the bench. Is that the 300? Yes, 300. So use 300 grit diamond sharpener like so. And just finish off polishing off the sides of the blade. So push that out a little bit. So it goes up against the bottom of the saw back. I do suffer carpal tunnel syndrome, so I do. Actually, to be fair, I don't have the symptoms of carpal tunnel syndrome anymore. But the aftermath of the operation means I'm not as dexterous as I used to be. I tend to drop things. I used to do a lot of model making and all sorts of stuff. I really struggle with that sort of stuff now. I drop, randomly drop stuff, which isn't very helpful. Or I let things vibrate off the top of surfaces when I'm using finishers and bench grinders and stuff, which is a bit silly. But that's got nothing to do with carpal tunnel syndrome. No. Right, so it's polishing it off. I'm basically removing what the linsher couldn't get to. The lows. I'll get rid of some of these lows, also but just below the actual saw back. So I'm not after making it perfect. I want it usable. But what this does, you see, it gets rid of all those horrible highs. It removes some of the pitting on the sides of the actual blade itself, and what that does is it allows the saw to flow through your workpiece with ease. So it just seems to make sense. It's not just about making it look pretty. In this particular saw, I'm going to be recutting the teeth. Now, originally this was 22 TPI. I can no longer sharpen 22 TPI. I used to, didn't used to have much trouble with ready specs now, but I think I need to start thinking about making life a bit easier. So just polishing it off. So it's getting good now. It's getting there. I'll put a bit of oil on there instead, actually, of water. That's better. So backwards and forwards until we're happy that it's serviceable. There you go. I think that's almost there. It feels lovely and smooth now. And you can go further. You can keep going until you make it all shiny if you want. But you've got to bear in mind that you don't want to make it too thin, because when you cut your teeth into it, they might end up being too thin, and then they just break off when you try and set them with the saw set. There's a couple of places I want to work a bit more. I think there and here. But no, I think it's good enough. Like I say, the handle, the tote, is going to be reshaped a little bit. Just remove some of that low off here. Just give me that, because obviously I'm recutting the teeth. I want to try and it's getting to the point now where I'm not going to have anything there at all, hardly. So I want to make sure I, remove some of that curve on that, recut that, reshape that a little bit. Now, the other thing you could do, you could laminate a handle up or toe up if you like, instead of just doing that, and the whole thing would be a lot stronger, because obviously you've got a lot of cross grain here, so we would think about. So if you laminate one up, you wouldn't have the cross grain, would you? It could be like plywood effectively, and then you could really cut that back, because you use different timbers, stronger timbers, and you could probably cut it back to about much smaller. So anyway, the next video, I suppose, will either be cutting these teeth, or it'll be sorting this tote out. So that is my dovetail saw, and it's not a tenon saw, it's a dovetail saw. I know some people are telling me that it's a tenon saw, but it's not. It's 8 inches long, and it's going to be between 17 and 22 TPI, and it's also going to be sharpened to a rip, profile as well, as you would do for dovetails. You see, it's a nice little saw. I don't know what make it is. There's no markings on it, and it never was, as far as I can remember. It would have been at some point. There'd been some kind of etching on there, or like some of the other saws is written on the actual back of the saw. But this has got nothing written on it. I don't know if it's a spare Jackson or what it is. Maybe you know. Please leave in the comments down below. What make of saw is this saw? Doodaloo. Don't forget to hit the like button though, wouldn't you? God, that was a bit ad hoc, wasn't it?